Catch 6 Sports weekdays at 6 and 11 on WLNS.
And now, 6 Sports March to Glory.
It was a little bit more traumatic this year. It was a little more unknown than maybe most years.
You've got to play with an attack mentality as opposed to playing careful.
Missile between the legs, throws one up.
You got to win 2 games, and then you go on to the next weekend.
Hello and welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I joked before I came down here, there would be at least one point during this trip I would say Charlotte instead of Charlotte, and if you were with us at 6 o'clock, then you heard me say that. That's the Mid-Michigan in me that just had to come out and say it. Nonetheless, we appreciate you tuning in to our hour-long March to Glory special, where we're going to be talking about the Michigan State men's and women's basketball team who begin the NCAA tournament this week. Now, for the men's basketball team, this season obviously did not go as expected for Tom Izzo and company. Nonetheless, though, Tom Izzo has led Michigan State to the NCAA tournament for the 26th straight time.
Also in Charlotte, also on Thursday, Mississippi State with Chris Jans coaching these guys. They are in at 21-13, facing the 9 seed, Michigan State and Tom Izzo.
It'll be an MSU versus MSU matchup with tip-off set for 12:15 p.m. Thursday on CBS, a.k.a. WLNS in town. The Spartans will take a 19-14 record into this game, and because of it, there was a lot of nerves on Selection Sunday for Izzo, as he called Sunday one of the most anxious days of his career, and he got a little anxious once the first 3 regions were revealed on Sunday.
Sitting away, and Allen was up there.
This morning, the Spartans held an open practice here at the Spectrum Center, and it wasn't an official practice, as it was more really for fans and media to watch and interact with the Spartans. And for players like freshman Xavier Booker, this was their first March Madness experience. But for Steven Izzo, of course, the son of Tom Izzo, the tournament has become routine for him every March, as this will be the final time Steven will take in the NCAA tournament as a player. So I had to ask him what he enjoys the most about it.
Going around to different cities, and we'd always put the Nerf hoop up in the room, or fill out the brackets as young kids and stuff. My cousin that usually comes with us is here, so just things like that we always did as kids, and really took every moment in and enjoyed it, with going to meetings, going to the film sessions, and just running around the hotel and jumping in the pools and stuff.
I've watched this ever since I was a kid. Obviously watched a lot of NBA guys go through the March Madness, and I've seen a lot of teams win it, so definitely to be a part of it is honestly like kind of a dream come true.
So what do we know about Michigan State's opponent on Thursday, Mississippi State? Well, the Bulldogs went 21-13 this season with an 8-9 record in the SEC. And like Michigan State lost 4 of 5 games to end the regular season, the Bulldogs lost their final 4 games in the regular season. And similar to MSU, the Bulldogs were on the court here today at the Spectrum Center to get ready for Thursday's game. The Bulldogs' leading scorer is freshman Josh Hubbard, who is averaging 17 points per game and was named to the SEC All-Freshman team. Now, these two coaches, Tom Izzo and Chris Jans, have never played against one another or coached against one another, and Jans was quick to notice one thing about Michigan State.
I mean, they get the ball out of that net, and they know where they're outletting the ball, and those guys run the wings, and they rim run, and they give that passer options. And if you're not on your P's and Q's and you celebrate it all on a made shot, or you don't think get back or sprint back and whatever your assignment is defensively, it's over. They're laying the ball in, or they're hoisting up a wide open three, and that's what jumps out at me the most.
All right, so now that you know what's to come for Michigan State, we figured it was a good idea to look back on this season. Obviously, things did not go as expected for the Spartans. Nonetheless, They're in the NCAA tournament once again, and we're going to preview as well as look back on this past season. We'll be right back on March to Glory.
We've got, again, I think a damn good schedule with Duke early, and of course we're going out and playing Arizona. We've got Butler, we've got Baylor, and then some of our other non-conference games are against pretty good teams like James Madison and teams like that are going to be good. Oakland's always good, and so we have our challenges ahead of us.
Oh yes, they definitely did. Tom Izzo said last week he knows a lot of people were disappointed with the way the regular season went for the Michigan State men's basketball team. Even his 97-year-old mother was disappointed with the season, but no one more disappointed than himself. The Spartans entered this season ranked 4th in the AP poll and had key players like Tyson Walker, Malik Hall coming back, as well as a highly touted freshman class. But as we found out, things went off course in a hurry. In the season opener back on November 6th, the Spartans lost in overtime to James Madison, 79-76. Now, the Dukes earned a 12 seed in the tournament, so the loss was certainly not as bad as people thought it was at the beginning of the season. It was such a stunner to Spartan fans, though, because it was the first time under Tom Izzo MSU had lost a November home game, so it clearly didn't lead to a happy Izzo that night.
There's no reason for a wake-up call. There's going to be some changes, but there's no reason for a wake-up call. I'm really big on giving guys a chance, but there were some things that happened over and over again that we'll see.
We had a good week of practice. I think we just got to bring it to the game, I think we go harder in practice than we do to start the game, and then we start down, and then we kick it in gear, and it's always kind of too late.
Now, after that game, things really didn't get much better for MSU as they started the season with a 4-5 record, with losses coming to Duke, Arizona, and Big Ten opponents Wisconsin and Nebraska, all of whom made the NCAA tournament this year. And if you do the math, of MSU's 14 losses this season, 10 of them have been to teams who are in the big dance. MSU has never shied away from a tough schedule, and it came in handy when they made a trip to Little Caesars Arena in Detroit after that 4-5 start.
It's fun to get somewhere where they don't get to see you as much, and yet you have a strong following, and that's the way it's been most of the time there. But I'm just looking forward to us getting on the floor and getting caught up in the crowd. But you got to do something to get the crowd going. We have been shooting the ball better. That is encouraging. We just got to make sure now we put them both together.
And that is exactly what the Spartans did. Perhaps there's no win bigger on the Spartans' resume this season than the 24-point win they had over then number 6 Baylor at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. And it was a win so nice, we just had to relive it all over again.
Playing in Detroit, they know they need a win against the top-ranked team. Pull-up jump shot, first one going down. Walker shaking, rises. Rare turnover, Hogarth, the Cohen Carr, the high flower in the front court. Picked up Hogarth, he's got them all with him. The lob,
I think Steve Smith said it best in there along with Mateen. Mateen, we were more together, as you said, more connected. And Steve is, maybe we finally hit somebody in the mouth before they hit us in the mouth. And that makes a big difference, especially at Michigan State.
Now, if you're a Spartan fan as well as a Detroit Lions fan, that was quite the day in the Motor City after MSU took down Baylor. The Detroit Lions won in prime time over the Denver Broncos. And coming up after the break, we're going to be talking with perhaps the best football player on Michigan State's roster, Trey Holloman. We sit down with a Minneapolis native who had quite the showing in the Big Ten tournament last week. It's all next when March to Glory returns.
behind Zach Edey. Bodies on the floor in front of Zach Edey, and a foul on Trey Holloman. And now Holloman and Edey doing some talking.
Fletcher Lawyer gets tripped, and then Zach Edey comes over to clear out the space for his teammate. Right there. See Zach Edey and Trey Holloman.
While Michigan State's run in the Big Ten tournament last week in Minneapolis came up a little bit short, it wasn't for a lack of trying, as you saw right there. Sophomore guard Trey Holloman did not back down from 7'4" center on Purdue, Zach Edey. Holloman went 3 for 3 with 9 points in the win over Minnesota in the second round. Then in the quarterfinal loss to the Boilermakers, he had 10 points and has really become a steady presence for this MSU team off the bench.
You know, when you put the stickers on and the team that moves forward, the team votes who does that, and it was unanimous that Trey was the guy, and it wasn't because he's from here. It's because the lift he gave us and some of the plays he made.
I have played here plenty of times, so, you know, it was just a comfortable feeling.
Now, with Holloman having much more of a bigger role for the Spartans this season as opposed to his freshman year last year, our Tyler Driesengo was able to catch up with the sophomore earlier in the season and is joining us now from the studio in Lansing. How's it going, Tyler?
Yeah, Ian, basketball is more or less in Trey Holloman's blood, as his mother was a star basketball player in her own right. I spoke with Holloman about the impact his mother had on his love of the game and how finding a comfort level here has led to his sophomore surge. Trey Holloman says he came to Michigan State to play for Hall of Fame coach Tom Izzo. But not even a Hall of Famer could know what makes Holloman tick, quite like his coach when he was young, his mother, Crystal Flint. What role did she play in your love of basketball?
She has been there since day one. So when I was younger, my brother used to play, so she used to coach his team. And then I would just be like running around shooting. So like she has always kept a basketball in my hands.
Holloman's mother was a star basketball player in her own right. She played at the University of Minnesota and was part of the first Golden Gopher team to make the NCAA tournament in 1994. She's coached for decades since and coached Trey when he was in middle school. And what are the biggest lessons that you learned from her as a coach?
Do not mess with the refs and then just be a great teammate.
Holloman says it was during those middle school years he realized he had a unique talent on the basketball court. As he grew, he developed into one of the top point guards in the country and the best player in his home state. As a senior in high school, you were Gatorade Player of the Year in Minnesota, and in the last few years, there's been quite a run of high-level players from Tyus and Trey Jones to Matthew Hurt, Gary Trent, Jalen Suggs, Chet Holmgren. What did that honor mean to you at the time, and what does it mean looking back now and seeing the success that some of those guys have gone on to have?
It just feels great because those are great players. You know, they are playing at a pro level. So you know, that is my dream to be at the pros. But you know, I have played against maybe all of them though. So you know, that's cool. And I just feel like I am one of the greats back at home, but I gotta keep working.
Is there a lot of pride in being from Minnesota for guys like yourself and those guys?
Oh yeah, for sure, because you know we are not known as a basketball state, so you know they paved the way for like me to have my dreams and then play a college basketball and then hopefully play pro.
Holloman's pedigree helped him earn immediate playing time at MSU. His minutes were limited, but Holloman appeared in all 34 games as a freshman. He's seen an increased role this season and says he has a greater understanding of what it takes to succeed in the Big Ten.
Freshman year, you were like the new kid on campus. So I wasn't aggressive enough, I guess, or I didn't just go get it. So this year, it made me work harder and then just, take it all in, and then the game slowed down for me. So that's a big plus.
Time and time again growing up, Trey Holloman proved he was one of the very best, regardless of who he was competing against. These days, he's competing against the very best college players in the country. Proving it here is the biggest challenge he's faced on the court. But over the offseason, Holloman showed his head coach he's committed to the work it takes to face the challenge head on. And a few times this year, Coach Izzo has said that you might be the most improved player on the roster from a season ago. What do you think has led to that improvement? Is it just the aggression piece that you talked about?
Yeah, just being like hungry to like play, hungry to like win. So I have been in the gym, a lot this summer, and I just want to prove people wrong.
I also talked to Holloman in the locker room after their Big Ten tournament loss to Purdue last week and asked him what the Spartans will have to do to prove people wrong in the big dance and make a run. He says he thinks they showed against Purdue they're not far away. They just need to make the hustle plays, rebound in crunch time, and trust that shots will fall. Holloman has shown plenty of reason to trust his shots will fall this season. He's been the Spartans' best three-point shooter by percentage at 41.8%.
All right, thank you very much, Tyler. A little bit later in the show, we're going to be sitting down one-on-one with head coach Tom Izzo to talk more about the Spartans in the NCAA tournament. But first, the MSU women's basketball team is in the tournament as well as a 9 seed and have done it under first-year head coach Robyn Fralick. We're going to be chatting with her next when March to Glory returns.
It was clear after talking to people across the country, she was the right person for our program. I even asked Coach Izzo. I gave him a homework assignment, okay? And I asked him, hey, whatever you need to do through your sources, go find out what you can find out. And he turned that homework assignment in, he gave me the thumbs up, and he said it's all good.
It has nearly been 1 year since Michigan State Athletic Director Alan Haller announced Robyn Fralick would be the next MSU women's basketball coach. Fralick was hired on March 31st of 2023. Then a few days later, at her introductory press conference, she let it be known how the program was going to operate.
To the Michigan State University women's basketball squad, I am really looking forward to building relationships, chasing excellence, and we will stay in pursuit together day by day. We will do it together through our 5 core values: being a great teammate, manners matter, which ultimately means operating out of gratitude, trust, toughness, and commitment.
And did they ever commit to the Fralick way? In year one, the Spartans went 22-8 and finished 4th in the Big Ten with a 12-6 record. MSU has really played a fun brand of basketball this season, and it's why Fralick became the first women's basketball coach at MSU to lead the Spartans to the NCAA tournament in year one, and it's how we started our conversation with her this week.
They will face number 9 seeded Michigan State. 22 wins, the program's most in a season since 2015-16. You see the reaction there.
Well, first year here at Michigan State, and you're in the NCAA tournament. When you saw your name called, I knew it was early. What did you think when Michigan State got in the tournament?
Really excited coming in. I think that was a moment we were excited to share. And, it was funny. It happened really quickly. So a lot of times you're kind of sitting around waiting, the anticipation. But, we're thrilled to be in it. Someone who seemed the most excited when the name was called was your daughter, Clara. Yes. What has she just done for this group to really bring them all closer together? Well, we laugh. She's our good luck charm. I think she just brings goodwill. She's 7, so when she's around, I think everything's a little less serious, a little more fun. She's a great connector. I love how great and kind the girls have been to her. They mean a lot to her. She talks about them a lot, and I'm glad we get to share this experience together. Heard she brought all the players' goodie bags? Yes. She brought her own. We went to Myers, and there were some dinosaur goodie bags that she picked out some treats and just, a few fun things to put in them. Okay, cool. I guess for this group in general to get to this point where you are playing in the NCAA tournament, what has just the journey been like to get to this point where you're playing at a high level and to be one of the teams selected? Well, I think if you can, I think something I'm most proud of with this group is how much better we've gotten. I think if you look at where we were this summer, if you look at where we were when the season started, we've progressively improved. I even think back to when I first got here in our first team meeting, first individual meetings. So that part as a coaching staff, I think we're really proud of how much time they've spent, how hard they've worked, and how we've been able to improve through the season. What about just playing in these tournaments have you really learned over your career to be ready for a one and done situation and kind of, Tom Izzo says winning the weekend? How do you approach the tournaments? I think you have to be cranked up. I just think there's this enthusiasm, there's this confidence, there's this aggressiveness to playing well in March. I think you've got to play with an attack mentality as opposed to playing careful. But there's so many pieces that go with that. But my hope for our group is that we play with a lot of energy and confidence.
And when you do play, it'll be 2 weeks from the last time you played a game. I guess, what did you guys do with that time off to sort of get ready, rest up, and be ready now for North Carolina?
Interesting amount of time, but we all had it. I mean, ACC was in the same situation. So I think it's a good time to get a break. I think it's been a good time for us to focus on us and not talk about another team. And I think we tried real hard to mix resting and then really competing because you want your kids to still have that competitiveness that they're used to consistently.
Julia said on Sunday that reaching the NCAA tournament was a big goal for them, especially after last year. When maybe did you understand how driven this team was to accomplish that goal this season?
I think we wrapped up non-conference. I could feel a determination, a focus, and we have an experienced group. They understand how hard it is to make the tournament. They understand what a regular season has to look like. So I think that was very helpful that we have so many experienced players who understand what it takes.
Now, if the Spartans can get past North Carolina on Friday at 11:30 a.m., they will then play potentially the top overall seed in the women's tournament, unbeaten South Carolina. And no question, the Spartans will need players like fifth-year senior Moira Joyner playing at their very best. Joyner is the Spartans' second leading scorer this season. And after the break, we're going to be chatting with her. It's all next when March to Glory returns. Welcome back. Fifth-year senior captain Moira Joyner has improved her scoring by nearly 5 points per game this season, as Joyner is the Spartans' second leading scorer with an average of 14.7 points per game. Now, the road to reaching this success has been a long one for Joyner. 2 seasons ago, she missed the final 18 games of the season due to a concussion injury, which at one point made it unclear if she'd be able to play again. And now that she's healthy and playing at a high level, Joyner was able to reach a major milestone in January this season, 1,000 career points.
The adversities that I've gone through definitely make me appreciate this a lot more, and like when I walk upstairs to see my family, I probably will cry. Like I've kind of been holding it off a little bit, but yeah, it just means a lot.
She's a kid that you feel lucky to coach. She's an everyday kid. She's an every possession kid. She's had all kinds of peaks and valleys through her career, and she shows up.
So while this has been a season to remember for Joyner, Haley Schoengart was able to catch up with her this season and joins us now from the studio in Michigan for more on how Joyner developed a love for the sport. Hey, Haley.
Hey, Ian, change was a big theme for Michigan State's women's basketball program this past year. A new head coach, an almost entirely new staff, and multiple new additions to the roster. Even with all of the new coming to East Lansing, a few things remained the same for Captain Moira Joyner.
Well, you're from Saginaw, Michigan. When did you first get introduced to basketball?
I think I started playing basketball when I was like 4 years old. My mom and dad coached me like all the way until high school, and then I kind of got passed off. But yeah, my mom coached me at the YMCA. So the work ethic they taught me and just the family values through coaching and like always being a good teammate, I think that really rubbed off on me and like how I play in the game today.
Whenever you went to Heritage, you led them to 2 state titles. Where was your recruitment process with Michigan State?
Well, actually, funny story. So when I won my 2 state championships, I never got to play here. It was the 2 years it was moved to Calvin College. So my 2 years were at Calvin, and then they moved it back here. So it was just kind of funny, and then I actually ended up coming to play here. But I probably they were kind of always interested, but I got my offer my junior year. I was kind of up in the air with where I was actually gonna land and where I wanted to go. But when they offered me my junior year, I was pretty set, that's where I want to go. It's closest to home, my state. I think the community here really stuck out to me the most. The campus is also awesome, but the people here are so welcoming, and I just feel very comfortable here, and it's only an hour and a half away. So
there's a lot of Michiganders on the team. Did you ever get the experience of getting to play against some of them, Gabby, Dee Dee?
I played against Gabby and Dee Dee and Julia. I think that's it. Yeah, I've played against all three of them. And then I played with Gabby on my travel team in high school. So we've all known each other for a long time. You play against each other and you're kind of like, oh, I hate playing her because she does this so well. And then you actually get to be teammates, and now they're helping you to be other teams. So it's definitely a full circle moment, and I'm very appreciative to have them as teammates.
Looking back at your first 4 years here, how would you best describe that experience?
I'd say it was a bit of a roller coaster. I think if you look at my career on paper, you're like, okay, well, it's pretty steady. I did a good job, but I definitely battled some injuries, and coming back from my concussions and stuff like that, it was definitely a whirlwind. But this last year, I'm just so happy I got this last year. We had to go through COVID and everything, and I think players and athletes that actually went through COVID in college is completely different than any other experience you're gonna have. So I'm just grateful that my teammates like Drew and Tori are still with me for my last year.
Yeah, when did you decide okay, 5th year is something I really want to do?
I always wanted to probably take my 5th year, and with the coaching changes, I didn't know really where, and I wanted to stay here, but we didn't know who was coming in, and it was kind of a team decision, or a bunch of teammates just saying okay, if we're gonna stay together. And so that's kind of how I decided to take my 5th year here specifically.
Michigan State keeps track of 8 categories, career highs. 6 of those, you've reached your career high this season already. What's different for you this season?
I think my teammates are putting me in the right places, honestly. They believe in me, they are calling plays for me, that type of thing. As for scoring, and then for the other stuff, I just think that I'm more comfortable. It's my 5th year, I'm a veteran, I've done this, I should be getting into that flow, and so I think that's basically what is going on.
You've seen a lot of college basketball in your days. Where do you think the team can really go this season?
This team this year, I think, is gonna probably surprise some people, just because in the past we've been around 500 each season, but we're definitely gonna make a run at Big Ten title, tournament, season record, and we're gonna be in the NCAA tournament for sure.
You know the cliche saying, defense wins championships, and Joyner is about as gritty as they come on defense. But don't leave her open behind the arc either. She comes into the big dance leading the team in three-point shooting with 76 made three-pointers, which could be a key as the Spartans look to keep their season alive. Ian.
Thank you very much, Haley. Now, we can't have our March to Glory special without talking to Mr. March himself. After the break, we're going to be catching up with Tom Izzo to see what he enjoys the most about this time of the year and why he always seems to excel at winning the weekend. It's all next when March to Glory returns.
The players, the assistant coaches I've had, we've won all of ours right here at Michigan State, and I am really, really honored, proud, and feel good. And like I said, we're not dead yet. We got some more wins. We got some more years to go, and just going to keep fighting the fight.
While the season didn't go quite as he expected, there were still a lot of memorable moments for Tom Izzo this past season. Like on January 30th, when the Spartans took down rival Michigan on his birthday and gave Izzo his 700th career win. Now, reaching the NCAA tournament for the 26th straight time is another major milestone the Spartans were able to accomplish this season, and it's something we discussed with Izzo in part 1 of our chat this week. Well, your favorite time of the year is here. Just hearing your name called, 26th straight tournament. What did you think when you finally got in?
It's double favorite time of year. We got in the NCAA tournament, yesterday, and tomorrow spring football starts. That's my favorite time too. So, but no, on a serious note, as you know, it was a little bit more traumatic this year. It was a little more unknown than maybe most years. But in some way, when I listened to the players last night, the eruption when we got in, It made me feel good. I'm almost glad I went through it because we've taken so much for granted here in these 26 years, 27 if you include Cassius's year, which is COVID, but we were in. It's amazing, you know, and I maybe blame other people for taking it for granted, but maybe I took it for granted. And maybe when I saw the players' reaction and I know how I felt, it was a good feeling to say, hey, you know what, this still is special. It's not on the, it's not on the schedule. You got to go out and get it done, and I felt good about it.
Do you allow yourself to think like, uh-oh, maybe we don't get in, or when they get to the fourth region and you haven't seen your name called, do you allow yourself to think that way of like, you guys are done?
Not most years, but this year I did, sure. Night before, that's why I said I was watching a game on the night before, and the first time I saw Michigan State as last four in or a bubble team. Now that's just one guy's prediction, but it was on national TV, and that was a sleepless night because I thought we were in. And but 95% of the time we've been in solidly, and what we're fighting for is different seeds. So yeah, unique, different, but now that I've been through it, I'm glad I went through it because maybe it'll help me appreciate what we've accomplished here and what we've done and what the players have done before me, and hopefully it'll be a better situation.
You've developed a nickname from a lot of fans, Mr. March. What do you enjoy about this time of the year of it being one and done and, you know, winning the weekend?
Yeah, you know, I stole that, of course, from Mike Krzyzewski many years ago. You know, the first time I went, I was trying to win a game. And then the second time when we were picked to get to a Final Four, the second time that we were really involved when Cleves and them were juniors, I realized that winning a game doesn't matter anymore. And that was my second year in the NCAA tournament, 24 years ago as far as that goes. And I said, from now on, you have to win the weekend, you know? And so I did go with that mentality, and my staff picks up on it. We coach accordingly to that. We prepare accordingly to that. It's one game at a time, and I think when I first said, yeah, I'm going to try to win the weekend, I think people got, you know, like, don't look to the next game, but you have no choice when you're in a program like this. You're not just trying to win a game. So my favorite part of it is I've been in it long enough that I believe you could be a 10 seed, or you could be a 2 seed, or you could be a 1 seed or a 7 seed. Especially now, your chances of getting there aren't good. They're just as good as everybody else's. It just, the parity or whatever it is, but people have to realize that, you know, you got to win 2 games, and then you go on to the next weekend.
That was just part of our conversation with Izzo this week, and after our final break, we're going to have more with a Hall of Famer who seeks to add to his 55 career NCAA tournament wins. And if his team is playing like they did in the NCAA tournament, showing toughness, it is certainly possible for this MSU team. It's all next when March to Glory returns.
6 Sports March to Glory is sponsored by Hudson Inc., Ohana Sushi and Bar, Johnson's Workbench, Schroyer Auto Parts, Spring Arbor Lumber, Trips Collision, and High Caliber Karting and Entertainment.
It was actually a hell of a move, you know? He spins, threw it up there. AJ picked him up, threw him to Tyson. I think they thought he was the ball, you know? And it was pretty cool. The way the place went crazy for him.
While the win over Baylor was the highlight game of the season for the Michigan State men's basketball team, perhaps the play of the year was when Steven Izzo scored his first career points in a win over Rutgers back in January. This season has felt like a roller coaster at times for MSU, and Tom Izzo shared with us this week what he truly thinks about the season. Yeah, parity is a good way to put it, but with 14 losses that you guys have had this year, 10 are to teams that are in the tournament, and a lot of them have been by single digits. So how can that, just those close games, have really helped this group now?
Well, that's what we've talked to our players about. I didn't realize it was 10 out of 14, but now that I think about it, you're right, you know, and one of the losses against the team that didn't get in was Minnesota, which we all but had the game won. We just couldn't make a free throw in. So I do think it's important because right now, you know, this day and age where players are just, you know, the social media just crushes them. I think those kind of things make them realize, wait a second, you know, it was a 3-point loss to Nebraska, or, you know, even games that ended up 6 and 7. I look at with a minute left to go in the game, was it a 2-point, 1-point, 3-point, and most of them were, and some of them we were ahead then. So you know, it depends if you want to call the glass half full or half empty. If it's half full, you'd say we're in all those games about